There are two words, maybe the most comforting words when it comes to food: pot, roast. And when you're talking about venison, it's a perfect way to use a leg roast. I got 3 beautiful roasts off a big buck, and this is one of them. Now, the thing about roasts is they are, from the leg, is they're a little tougher. They use this leg muscle a lot, so we're going to use a longer cooking method. Now, if I didn't have a pressure cooker, I would braise it. But with the pressure cooker, I can not only do a pot roast that's really tender, but I can do it in less time. So I love the pressure cooker. We're gonna start by getting some flavor bases together. The first thing I have to do though is develop flavor on the roast. So I'm gonna dust it with a little bit of flour, season it with salt and pepper, put it in and get it really hot and start browning all the sides. That's gonna make a beautiful gravy in the end. Then I'm gonna get some potatoes on, skin on, and blanched in some boiling water. And then I'm gonna roast some garlic, mash it together. It's gonna be beautiful. So it's gonna be a pot roast, venison pot roast with a garlic mashed potato. So let's get started on browning up this beautiful roast. A light dusting of flour is going to do a couple things. It will ultimately thicken the stock when we make that beautiful gravy. The other thing that it's gonna do is it will begin to brown. So I'm gonna completely coat the roast and then I'm gonna get it in the pan. Always preheat your pressure cooker when you're going to saute. Make sure that it's good and hot before you begin. Otherwise, with such a big piece of cold meat, it'll just boil. So I'm gonna put a couple knobs of butter in, 3 in total. You can see that starts to melt right away. A little bit of olive oil to make sure that that butter doesn't burn, and so we get good flavor. Then it's gonna be in the pan. So as soon as that's melted, this is gonna go in. I'm gonna make sure to season it with salt and pepper. As the pot roast sizzles away there, I'm gonna prepare a flavor base. One of the most important things is to get a good combination of flavors. Now, carrot, celery, and onion plus leek are what the French call mirepoix. And what that is essentially is a flavor base that is a perfect combination of aromatics and sweetness and acidity. So the first thing to do is to prepare a cut of mirepoix of carrot, celery, and onion and leek. Get that ready so that when the roast is complete, I can pull it out and saute those vegetables. Let's start with the onion. The cut of mirepoix for onion is not very refined. It's a simple matter of removing the root tip and the root, slice the onion in half, peel the skin, and then because we're not going to be serving this onion, it's really only there for flavor, we'll take and slice it, in this case, in about 3, and then in about 3 again. This gives uniform size for cooking and getting the flavor out, but it's not so small that we have to fuss with it. Carrots are another simple cut, so just very simply peel the carrot, leaving the tips on, and we'll trim it off just before quartering it. Now, trim the tips, and lying flat, quarter lengthways. Then slice in approximately the same size slices as the onion. This is the mirepoix cut for carrot. Okay, so let's check our roast. Oh yeah, that's what we're looking for, flavor development. So the nice thing is that you can be coloring the roast while you're working on this prep. You'll see that in front of me, I've got the heart of celery. Now, what I want you to do is for the larger pieces of celery, take and split them in half just like this, okay? Then line it up and just simply, once again, cut the same width, approximately the same size as both the onion and the carrot. This is mirepoix for celery. The last component is leek. Now, it's not classic in the French mirepoix, but for me, leek is mild. It has onion and garlic notes in it, and it's the perfect complement. So again, I'm preparing 2 cups of onion and of carrot and of celery, and now of the leek. The first step is to remove the heavy top, dark, bitter green. That's something that can be used for just stalks. I trim the end, then I slice completely down the center. And one of the things you have to keep in mind with leek is that they're often grown in sandy soil. So a lot of times there's sand locked down. This one's extremely clean. But it's always a good idea to rinse them if they are sandy. The next cut comes down the center, so I'm fully quartering them lengthways. And then the same size cut, once again, this is a mirepoix cut of leek. Tomatoes are the last component of the flavor base, and it's a simple preparation for them as well. I just take the top off, then turn them on the flat surface, quarter it lengthways, lie it down, and then simply slice. Again, you see that same, roughly the same size slice as all of the other cuts. That is a perfect cut to go into this roast. Once colored, the roast has all kinds of beautiful color. You can have a look at that there. The other thing that's developed on the outside of the roast and inside the pan is a bit of a roux. So when it comes time for making a really good gravy, it'll be thick and rich. Now all this prep has to go in, and then it's gonna be sauté at high temperature until it's translucent and until it's got little bits of color. To get the potatoes ready, I want you to start with cold water. Then with the potatoes in, you want to make sure to season the water. This is one mistake that's often made. This is the time to get the seasoning in, and plenty of it. So in this case, I'm going to do at least 2 or 3 tablespoons, or the water should taste of salt. The other thing is I'm going to use bay leaves. So bay leaves in, this is going on the stove. I'll bring it to a boil, then reduce to simmer, and I'll take them out when the potatoes are knife tender. The vegetables are nicely sauteed, they're translucent and starting to develop flavor. Most of the liquid has come out of them. Now it's time to deglaze. I'm using a beer, a nice dark beer. You can use red wine, you can use white wine. But the point of using an alcohol of some kind is that there is flavor development. So if it's beer, you've got the hops and you've got the wheat. If it is wine, you've got the grapes and you've got the oakiness. Now I'm going in with some chicken and vegetable stock as well. With this flavor base fully developed, the fragrance of it is incredible. The last step is I've got sprigs of thyme and sprigs of rosemary. That's going in with some bay leaves. Now it's time to nestle this beautiful whitetail roast right down inside that. Close this up and set the timer for about 45 minutes. With the potatoes fully cooked, it's time to add a little bit of flavor. I'm going to use butter, and the pan is preheated. I want to brown the butter. I want to make sure it doesn't burn, so don't walk away at this point. Stir it up, and when it gets darker brown and there's a nutty smell, pull it off, and then we'll finish the potatoes. I left the skin on the potatoes intentionally because it changes the flavor. It makes it taste better, and it's really easy to peel. You might think it's difficult, but peeling potatoes once they've been blanched is quite simple. You can see how quickly it comes off. The key is to do it while they're still just warm. Now, another step I want to show you is for really great mash. Don't use a blender, use a food mill or ricer. The ricer will make absolutely perfectly textured brown butter mash, and all you have to do is just simply feed the potatoes in and mill them. With the potatoes milled, I'm gonna add a little bit of milk. Milk will give it some real richness, and I want you to see how this comes together. Remember that brown butter in the bottom, and the milk will bring this together. There's still enough residual heat that by the time this is done, it'll be velvety, it'll be smooth, it'll be the perfect complement to that tender venison. After 45 minutes in the pressure cooker and then reducing for about 10 minutes, have a look at this au jus. This beautiful gravy, imagine drenching this mashed potatoes and this venison in that. Now, I want you to see the texture of the venison. Have a look at, after being in the pressure cooker, how that just completely pulls apart. That's the texture that you're looking for. Now, the presentation I've got here is family style, and there's enough of the brown butter mash and this incredible venison to serve at least 4 people. This is a great way to take a tough cut of meat, and there's plenty of it on whitetail, and make an incredible meal.